The Vatican has been shrouded in silence for months, with whispers and speculation filling the air about what the future holds for the Catholic Church. But now, in a revelation that has stunned the religious world, Pope Francis has finally broken his silence. The question that has lingered in the minds of millions, who will be the next leader of the Catholic Church, has just been addressed by the Pope himself. His words carry weight, not just for the 3 billion Catholics across the globe, but for the entire world. The Pope's vision for his successor isn't just about who will wear the white robe next. It's about the future of the Church, its mission, and its place in an ever-changing world. This is a moment of historical magnitude, a crossroads where faith, leadership, and the challenges of the modern era collide. Before continuing, declare in the comments, "I attract prosperity and happiness into my life. I am deserving of all the riches of the universe and receive each blessing with gratitude." If you want more hidden revelations like this, subscribe and turn on the bell. Don't miss anything. For months, speculation has run rampant. Pope Francis, now in his 11th year as the leader of the Catholic Church, is 87 years old. Despite his tireless commitment to justice, compassion, and unity, concerns about his health and age have dominated discussions within religious circles. The reality is that even the most devoted leaders must eventually face the transition of power. And now, for the first time, Pope Francis has given the world a glimpse into what he envisions for the future of the Church. His words will shape the direction of Catholicism for decades to come. The man who will take his place will inherit not just the title of Pope, but also the responsibility of carrying forward Francis's legacy, a legacy built on reform, inclusivity, and a deep connection to the marginalized. Whoever steps into this role will be charged with guiding the Church through an era of immense social, political, and spiritual challenges. Pope Francis's papacy has been nothing short of transformative. From the moment he stepped onto the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica in 2013 and humbly asked the world for prayers, he signaled a new kind of leadership. His focus has been on humility, compassion, and building bridges between the Church and the people. Over the years, he has made it clear that his mission is to bring the Church closer to those who feel excluded. He has opened doors to those who were once shunned, embraced the poor, and called for social justice on a global scale. His encyclical, Laudato Si', was a groundbreaking call for environmental responsibility, urging world leaders to take decisive action against climate change. He has spoken out against economic inequality, challenging the world's wealthiest nations to do more for those in need. He has reached out to refugees, advocated for interfaith dialogue, and worked tirelessly to reform the Vatican's bureaucracy. And while many have praised his progressive approach, his reforms have also been met with resistance from traditionalists within the Church. The divide between progressives and conservatives within Catholicism has only grown more pronounced, making the selection of his successor one of the most consequential decisions in modern Church history. The question remains, who will carry the torch after Pope Francis? His successor will not only inherit a spiritual role, but will also have to navigate the political, social, and doctrinal challenges that define the 21st century Church. The Catholic Church faces crises on multiple fronts: declining religious attendance in Western nations, scandals that have shaken public trust, and a growing call for modernization in both liturgical practices and leadership roles. The next pope will need to balance tradition with the necessity of change, maintaining the Church's core teachings while addressing the needs of a rapidly evolving global society. Now, as discussions about his successor intensify, 3 key figures have emerged as potential candidates to carry forward his mission. The first is Cardinal Pietro Parolin, the Vatican Secretary of State. Known for his diplomatic prowess, Parolin has been instrumental in shaping the Church's global relationships. His deep understanding of international politics and his ability to navigate complex negotiations make him a strong contender. In an era where the Church must engage with a rapidly shifting political landscape, a leader like Parolin could ensure that Catholicism remains a powerful voice on the world stage. His experience in handling delicate matters, such as Vatican-China relations, Middle Eastern conflicts, and diplomatic efforts within Europe, has positioned him as a steady hand capable of guiding the Church through turbulent times. However, some argue that Parolin represents continuity rather than change. making his candidacy more appealing to traditionalists, but potentially less inspiring to those who seek radical reform. The second contender is Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, often referred to as the Pope Francis of Asia. Charismatic and deeply connected to the faithful, Tagle has a unique ability to reach people on an emotional level. He is loved for his humility and his commitment to serving the poor. As a leader from the Philippines, one of the fastest-growing Catholic regions in the world, his election as Pope would signal a shift towards a more globally representative church. His ability to connect with young people and his embrace of modern technology, including social media, make him a compelling choice for a church that seeks to remain relevant in an increasingly secular world. Tagle has also been an outspoken advocate for migrants, human rights, and social justice, echoing many of the themes that have defined Pope Francis's leadership. His potential election would mark a historic moment, as he would be the first Asian pope in modern history, signifying a shift in the Church's global leadership. However, his critics argue that while he possesses deep pastoral charisma, he may lack the administrative and diplomatic experience needed to handle the intricate politics of the Vatican. The third potential candidate is Cardinal Matteo Zuppi, a figure who has gained prominence for his progressive views and commitment to dialogue. Zuppi has been actively involved in peace negotiations and is known for his work in mediating conflicts, particularly in war-torn regions. His emphasis on inclusivity and his efforts to bridge gaps between differing factions within the Church make him an appealing choice for those who wish to see Pope Francis's mission of reform continue. His pastoral approach, combined with a pragmatic understanding of church governance, makes him a well-rounded candidate capable of uniting both progressive and conservative factions within the Church. Zuppi's focus on social justice, care for the marginalized, and advocacy for a more compassionate church mirrors the priorities of Pope Francis, making him a natural successor in the eyes of many. However, like Tagle, some wonder if his leadership style is strong enough to tackle the formidable challenges facing the Vatican. As the Catholic Church stands at a crossroads, the question of leadership takes on even greater significance. The next pope will determine not only the direction of the Church, but also its role in global affairs. Will he be a continuation of Francis's vision, pushing forward with reforms and outreach? Or will he take a more conservative approach, reinforcing traditional doctrines and slowing the pace of change? The answer will shape the faith of millions, influence world politics, and determine whether the Church remains a relevant force in the modern era. What is clear is that the Catholic Church is entering a new chapter, one filled with uncertainty, but also with potential. Pope Francis has set the stage for transformation, but the ultimate decision lies with the College of Cardinals, who will gather in a conclave to elect the next successor of St. Peter. The eyes of the world will be on the Vatican as this momentous decision unfolds, and the faithful will wait with bated breath to see who will emerge as the leader of the Catholic Church in the years to come. This is not just about selecting a new pope. This is about defining the future of one of the most influential institutions in human history. Will the Church embrace change, or will it retreat into tradition? Will the next pope be a bridge builder or a gatekeeper? As the countdown to this historic transition begins, one thing remains certain. The world is watching, and the future of Catholicism hangs in the balance. If you've made it this far, tell me in the comments what you think about this prophecy. I'll reply to the best comments. Then there is Cardinal Peter Turkson, a strong advocate for social justice and environmental responsibility. Hailing from Ghana, Turkson has been a leading voice on issues such as poverty and climate change. His vision for the Church aligns closely with Pope Francis' commitment to justice and inclusion. If chosen, he would become the first African pope in modern history, a decision that would send a powerful message about the global nature of Catholicism. For centuries, the papacy has been dominated by European leaders, with the majority coming from Italy. The election of Turkson would signify a monumental shift, acknowledging the immense contributions of the African continent to Catholicism and recognizing its growing importance in the future of the faith. Africa is home to some of the most rapidly expanding Catholic communities, and having a pope who intimately understands the struggles and hopes of its people could be transformative. Turkson's leadership would bring a renewed focus on issues that affect the developing world: economic inequality, the refugee crisis, and the ethical responsibilities of global powers. He has consistently called for greater international cooperation in addressing these pressing concerns, emphasizing the moral obligations of wealthy nations to aid those in need. His selection as Pope could further Pope Francis's vision of a church that stands boldly in defense of the oppressed. However, some within the Vatican hierarchy worry that Turkson's views on economic justice, climate change, and corporate responsibility might be too radical for certain factions of the Church, particularly those aligned with more conservative and traditionalist perspectives. The choice of Turkson would undoubtedly be a bold one, signaling a commitment to reform and social justice, but it would also face resistance from those who prefer a more cautious, measured approach to church leadership. Each of these figures, Parolin, Tagle, Zuppi, and Turkson, represents a different path for the future of the Church. The next pope will have to address significant challenges: the decline of church attendance in the West, the growing divide between progressive and conservative factions within Catholicism, and the need to engage younger generations. The decision is not just about selecting a leader, it's about choosing the direction in which the Church will move in the coming decades. The College of Cardinals, the body responsible for electing the next pope, must weigh these considerations carefully. Do they choose continuity with Pope Francis's vision, or do they opt for a leader who will take the Church in a new direction? Do they select a figure with strong diplomatic skills to navigate geopolitical complexities, or do they prioritize a pastorally gifted leader who can inspire the faithful and rebuild trust in the Church? Pope Francis has made it clear that the Church must continue to evolve. He has spoken about the importance of choosing a leader who embodies humility, compassion, and a commitment to the marginalized. For Francis, the next pope must not be someone who simply preserves tradition, but someone who carries forward the mission of a more open, inclusive, and engaged church. This stance has drawn both admiration and criticism. To some, it is a necessary evolution that reflects the needs of modern society. To others, it represents a dangerous deviation from the Church's historical foundations. Yet Francis remains steadfast in his belief that Catholicism must be a force for good in a world struggling with inequality, conflict, and moral uncertainty. The world is watching closely, knowing that the next pope will not only shape the future of Catholicism, but also influence global conversations about justice, human rights, and morality. The Catholic Church is not just a religious institution, it is a cultural and political force that extends into nearly every corner of the world. The Vatican's stance on issues such as immigration, climate change, LGBTQ+ rights, and economic justice has far-reaching consequences, affecting policies and social attitudes worldwide. This makes the selection of the next pope a matter of international significance, not just a concern for Catholics. Leaders from other religious traditions, politicians, and social activists are all paying close attention to the Vatican's next move. And now, in a move that has sent shockwaves through the Vatican, Pope Francis has given the clearest indication yet of who he believes should be his successor. His words point unmistakably toward Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle. In Tagle, Francis sees a reflection of his own values, a leader dedicated to inclusion, service, and a church that reaches out to those in need. Tagle's deep connection to the faithful, his ability to inspire young people, and his tireless advocacy for the poor make him a natural successor to continue the Pope's mission. His emotional intelligence and ability to communicate in a way that resonates with both traditional and modern audiences set him apart as a unique candidate for the papacy. His election would not only honor the vibrancy of Asian Catholicism, but would also send a message that the Church is ready to embrace a more global, interconnected future. If Tagle were to become the next pope, it would mark a historic shift for the Church. As an Asian leader, he would represent a region where Catholicism continues to thrive. His leadership style, rooted in empathy and personal connection, could reinvigorate the Church at a time when many feel disconnected from traditional religious institutions. His embrace of technology and modern communication would help bridge the gap between the Vatican and the digital age. Unlike many of his predecessors, Tagle has demonstrated a keen understanding of how to engage with younger generations through social media, video messages, and direct outreach.
At a time when religious affiliation is declining in many parts of the world, particularly among young people, a leader like Tagle could be instrumental in reigniting interest in faith and spirituality. For Pope Francis, the decision is about more than just succession. It is about ensuring that the Church remains a beacon of hope in a world filled with division and uncertainty.
He has worked tirelessly to create a more inclusive, compassionate Catholicism, and he wants to ensure that this vision does not fade after his departure. By signaling his preference for Tagle, He is making a powerful statement about the kind of leadership the Church needs moving forward. The Catholic Church stands at a crossroads. The coming transition will be one of the most significant moments in modern religious history. Whoever takes the helm will be tasked with carrying forward Pope Francis's vision while addressing the unique challenges of a rapidly changing world. The choice of the next pope is not just a matter of internal church politics. It will shape the faith and beliefs of over 1 billion people worldwide. The Vatican, an institution steeped in centuries of tradition, now finds itself at a moment of potential transformation. The cardinals who will cast their votes in the upcoming conclave are facing a decision that will define the Church for generations. Will they follow Pope Francis's lead and choose a leader like Tagle, who embodies a vision of inclusion and outreach? Or will they shift the Church in a more conservative direction, prioritizing doctrinal preservation over reform? The outcome remains uncertain, but what is undeniable is that the world is paying attention. The election of the next pope will not only determine the future of Catholicism, but will also influence broader discussions about morality, ethics, and the role of religion in an increasingly secular world. As the Vatican prepares for this historic moment, one thing is clear: Pope Francis has laid the foundation for a new era of Catholicism. Whether his vision will continue or take a different course now rests in the hands of those who will elect the next leader of the Church. And with his subtle but unmistakable endorsement of Cardinal Tagle, Francis may have already set in motion the future of the papacy. The question now is whether the College of Cardinals will follow his lead or choose a different path. One way or another, the decision will shape the spiritual lives of millions and define the Catholic Church's place in the world for decades to come. The stage is set, the world is watching, and soon, the next chapter of church history will be written. Now that you know this, I'll leave you with this video where we reveal another shocking secret. Click here before it's too late.